You guys all good to go? All right, great. Thanks for being here today. I got a few things I just want to make sure I cover. Just wanted to start by inviting everybody out to, all of our fans out to meet the Spartans night. Here this Wednesday, it's going to be from 4 to 6 in Spartan Stadium. The event's free. It's a great time for the community and have all of our little fans and big fans come out and interact with our guys and the team. So our team will be signing autographs and there'll be activities around the concourses. So no, it's going to be a great event. So look forward to meeting everybody in the greater Spartan Nation community here in the greater East Lansing area, and look forward to seeing everybody Wednesday between 4 and 6. Excited to announce our captains on offense. Alessio Milivojevic and Trent Fraley, two big guys that have had great camps. And then defensively, Jordan Hall, Kenny Soares, and Nakai Martinez. And then in the kick game is Reese Stankin. So fired up for those guys. We've got we have multiple guys beyond them that receive votes. I think that speaks to where the leadership is in this team. But this group, received the most votes. It was voted on by the team. And everybody was eligible to be elected a captain. So that's viewed upon as the highest honor you could have as a Spartan, and look forward to working with those guys as the core leadership of our football team, along with our Unity Council and, frankly, the rest of the team. Also have some exciting news to share with Rodney Bullard. Compliance notified us today that the NCAA has reconsidered the case, reviewed it, and approved it. So he is officially eligible for the 2026 season. So we're very thankful for all the hard work of our compliance office. Really happy for obviously Rodney and his family, and we're just happy that he gets the opportunity to play the game that he loves, and just very thankful for all those that were part of the process to make this happen. So really happy for Rodney. So with that, how about some questions, please?
What changed with the decision with Bullard's case?
I was on the field and I got told he's eligible.
Was that like today?
Yeah. I have no idea, but I'm ecstatic. So maybe they got this thing called common sense in Indy. I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm happy they did. So it's never too late when it's before the opener. So
how did he respond, and did you tell him that?
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could ask him that. I think we're going to make him available. Why don't you ask him that? Okay. I think that would be great for him to answer instead of me. I'd rather have him answer that. It's been a long road for him, so really happy for him and his family.
You aware of the legal steps he was taking to try and become eligible, and obviously the deadline got to be on the roster?
Yeah, I was fully aware of it, and 100% supportive of him.
When you go through a situation like that, because we're seeing it in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Like the difficulty from a coaching side of that to kind of prepare.
Yeah.
If the guy's going to be
right.
there, as opposed to knowing he's going to be.
Really good question. We felt from day one that this was a no-brainer, or we were asking for his fourth year. This wasn't like we're asking for his seventh. Some of these people are coming back from the NFL. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're literally asking for him to get his fourth year of eligibility and to look at what happened to him as he matriculated to college. And it seemed like this should have been done from day one. It wasn't. We worked through the process. But I think from a macro perspective, I think you take all these on a case-by-case basis. And this one, for us, we just were shocked that we had to work this far down the road with it. But Rodney was steadfast that this is what he wanted to do. It's been very hard on him. It's been, in my opinion, something that's unfair to a student athlete to have to go through. But he was adamant that this is the opportunity he wanted. And the athletic administration, the university, President Guskowitz, everybody was fully supportive of supporting him. Going back to your question, we were all fully supportive of everything he needed to do to gain his eligibility. So we're thankful, we're happy, but most importantly, we're happy for him.
From a staff perspective, I know the first time he gets in the field, it'll probably have some emotions to it for him if you talk about how hard it was for him. But I wonder, as a staff, what your expectations are for him this season and sort of how he fits into the larger wide receiver room.
Yeah, everybody was pretty fired up for him on the practice field. We found out during warm-ups, so that was kind of cool. It was a cool moment. But, I think we haven't stopped. Like, we've operated like he was going to be eligible, so we expect his role to be quite large. We've kind of felt that way since day one, so nothing really changes with the ruling. We just know that he can now go play in a game. So we were going to stick with him all the way through, no matter what happened. If this was going to have to go into the season, we were willing to stick by his side and have his back.
With the 6 captains, I think, is that a large number for you usually, or is that about where you
Yeah, I've kind of done it a lot of different ways. The most important aspect of it is it's elected by the team. It's not a coach's decision. It's a player's decision. And this group, and there were more guys that received votes. I think there were like 5 on both sides of the ball, beyond the captains that were named. So that would be like 8 on defense and 7 on offense that received double-digit votes. So I think that just shows the depth and the breadth of the leadership on the team. And then Kenny Soares addressed the team this morning, kind of as we introduced the group for the first time, that it's just not that group. It's upon everybody, and everybody's in charge of leading the team by leading yourself first. So I think this group is really understanding kind of the direction we want to go, but really happy for this group. It just seemed like the right group, and so that's why I went to 6. Sometimes it's been 4, sometimes it's been 5. This may be my first time as having 6, but it just was the right 6 guys, I would say, based on the vote.
I know we're at a point where you don't like going back, but I wonder if you'd go back to the 2021 season.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. Go ahead. What do you want?
With the opener, when you had to face, after Tucker kind of reset the roster, what did you maybe learn from that about what to say, what not to say, and kind of keeping some things hidden? Was there anything that you learned in the portal era from that moment?
You said 2020. You said 2021.
Yeah, you had told me at media day that year that like if somebody, like if it worked, there was going to be plagiarists. I think that was your actual quote,
And
kinda seen
I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, holy cow, that's a first. Tell my wife I was right at something. That's great. First, wow. I think, again, and I don't know Coach's plan. We just saw the team that he had, and obviously the acquisition of Kenneth Walker worked out pretty well, to say the least. It's a different time now than it was in 21, but, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned just through how this process is just ever evolving and changing. I think that was a very talented team that Coach put together.
Do you remember Mark's first team? Because you had a year up on Mark in 06 when I think you guys played that year. Like, do you remember what the transition was like from getting Mark on board at Michigan State and how Michigan State kind of took flight in that first year?
Yeah, you just knew that it was going to be tough and physical because you study what he did at Cincinnati, right? And so that was kind of what we're having to do for the opener, frankly, right now. Is you're looking at film from all over because you're looking at the coordinators, you're looking at the head coach, you're looking at the personnel. There's a lot that goes in to preparing for an opener, especially like this. But we've kind of got the same advantage too with having new head coach here, new head coach there. So you do all the research, but then the ball goes in the air, and like anything in the opener, you have to plan to adjust. And so the first quarter break, you kind of go, okay, this is kind of what we thought, or wow, that's new, and how do we make those adjustments as immediate and as quickly as we can?
How far down your season do you advance scout in terms of like week 2, week 3, or do you let once the first games are played, do you let pretty much what's happening this season be what you scout with opponents?
Over the summer, yeah, you do summer studies of your opponents, absolutely. So we do the whole year.
But so even with not knowing what a lot of these teams could be with all the transfers and other things, it's still worth the summer scout.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And if not anything else, it's worth the exercise of the coordinators educating the young assistants, not the coaches, the assistants to the coaches. Kind of how we do our breakdown, what we want, how we call things of that nature. And, that group's typically a little bit transient. Now, most guys were new offensively, a little bit of carryover on defense this year, so the defense was a little bit further ahead, being able to get started on that. But for sure, I think those summer studies are great. Then open that up game week, and hey, based on what we saw in the summer with their personnel, are they what we thought they were when we studied them? And if not, then you just adjust and you don't hit delete, but you just move on to the next part that you learned.
With that defense, we talk about Jordan Hall a lot, 2-time captain. Now he's earned a lot of that credit. But I wonder, a guy like Deion Crawford and a guy like Caleb Wheatland, who are super experienced at different stops, what do they bring to the linebacker core?
Yeah.
How important is it to have experience?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, just when you looked at probably our portal class, it was production, right? I mean, that was a no-brainer how we did it. So those guys are really special. They're really good teammates. They've played a lot of ball. We expect great things from them, to say the least. And there's obviously, a large group of that, like them, at other positions too, that we're really counting on for this year's team.
For a Big Ten program, how important, like feels like historically the Big Ten's been a linebacker conference, especially on defense. I mean, you played at Northwestern, but
Yeah.
I wonder like what separates the guys who have it and can play in the Big Ten and be those sorts of difference makers from guys who can play it in a different conference.
Yeah, I think from a big picture standpoint, first and foremost, this conference plays defense. You know, I mean, that's pretty evident when you look back over the history of the conference. You know, there's always been kind of an emphasis in a you know, I think a recruitment to playing really good defense. And then you look at, you know, the position, you know, linebacker, you've got to be able to do it all. You've got to be able to wear the green dot and make the calls. You got to be able to go out and play in space against skill guys. You got to be able to fit against two backs, two tight ends, you know, whatever the personnel may be, and then play the run, play the pass. And, you know, thank goodness the game wasn't what it is today back in the 90s, because I wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, I was like arm length to arm length. These guys are so athletic. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more athletic, and the field hasn't changed size. And, you know what I mean? So just to see how the windows are smaller and how much faster they are is just so impressive.
Pat, do coaches ever learn anything from captain votes? I know you have a pretty good feel for who's respected and who isn't, but 3 of these 6 have never been in Spartan Stadium.
Yeah, I think you learn a lot, not only through that exercise. I think you learn it through our Unity Council that got elected earlier in the offseason. I think you learn it through Jersey number 1. Absolutely, these things, Jack, are not just by happenstance. You know, it's over time. You know, I've definitely learned to hear the voice of the locker room. You've got to give them opportunities to lead. And then the best teams I've ever coached were all player-led and player-run. You know, and so we had to go through this whole offseason basically to get to this point of teaching the guys, you know, kind of what we do, how we do it, when we want it done, all those nuts and bolts while they're building relationships. When I talk to the team about being in a storm, right, that, you know, we're kind of through the storm now. And it's now we've really come together and the brotherhood is really galvanized. And now it, you know, now we got to go compete. You know, I think you give yourself a chance to compete by doing what we've done. But now we're going to have to go out and compete and find out how we handle adversity, how we handle success, how we handle traveling, and all the things that go along with game day.
What's the rest of the week look like? I assume at some point you transition out and move into a game week
Yeah.
sort of thing? Will
Yeah.
break
Yeah.
involved?
Yeah. Good question.
What else do you still want to get done, I guess? Before?
Oh, we got a lot to get done. Yeah. So, you know, tomorrow we'll kind of transition to what would be air quote a Wednesday practice for game week. That we'll for the first time kind of start mixing in some things we anticipate from seeing from our opponent, while still doing a lot of things fundamentally that we really feel strong we need to improve on. We'll work then into our kind of way we practice on a Thursday, the following day, and then we'll do our mock game here this Thursday. That's kind of a scripted kind of every situation that may happen within Spartan Stadium. And then Friday we'll do basically a special situations practice, OD and K. So like every little like one-timer that's ever happened in the history of our staff. It's long. It's a long list of stuff that we just want to touch. Now we've been doing that throughout camp in situational football, but there's a like, all right, what have we not gotten done, and then what do we want to really emphasize a little bit? We'll also have the Big Ten officials come in and do some rules education. I'm sure that'll be a fun conversation with Coach Woods. And then they'll educate. We'll do the education with the staff, with the players. I've always done that. And then Friday afternoon, I'll give the guys basically Friday afternoon, and then Saturday the whole program's off, and then we'll be that's kind of symbolic of the end, and then we're really into game week, and that'll start on Sunday. So Sunday for us will be a Monday of game week. I'm kind of a guy that operates game day is always Saturday, so bear with me a little bit as we learn how I kind of talk, because I expect to play in postseason, and you may play on a Thursday. It's really Saturday. You know, hopefully in the playoff you play on a Wednesday, right? The first round games or whatever they may be. So just working back in a game week structure. So this upcoming Sunday will be a Monday.
Going off, I guess, a little bit. Do you do walkthroughs on Friday or Thursday? I know recently it used to always be, you know, day before, but I know some folks have.
Yeah, I don't buy into that Fast Friday crap that some of these coaches do. Okay. Yeah, we're not a track team, we're a football team. So no, we practice, you know, Sunday's off for us in our routine. And meaning that for the players, they've got injury check and things of that nature. But, you know, we've got guys from all over the country. We've got 7 home games. I want our guys to be able to go to church if that's what they choose to do individually or with their families, have brunch with their families, enjoy a day off, or they can unplug the matrix a little bit, get homework done, watch NFL Red Zone, and just relax and kind of recharge. We'll obviously grind as a staff. Sunday's a really busy day for us by design. Then Monday, we kind of put the game to bed Monday morning, and we'll do corrections and kind of first snapshot. And then Tuesday's our work day. We'll be in full pads. Wednesday, we'll be in shells. Thursday, we'll be in like spiders and helmets. And then Fridays, we'll walk through. Start a little later on Friday afternoons for home games, and then early, kind of a little bit of an early start, maybe mid-morning, because I'd like to be wheels up or out of town by noonish. Obviously, depends on how far the trip is. And then anticipate traveling out Thursday night to UCLA is kind of where I see things as this goes along. Anybody want to know about like a random Tuesday in October too? Yeah, I mean, like,
What are you serving on the meal?
yeah, no, I have no, yeah, well, it'll be tenderloin pregame meal, but yeah, just working through all those things. I try to be 6 months in advance at least. So wrapped up, just bye-week stuff, probably midweek last week, just getting everything tidied up on how I want to do recruiting, how I want to practice that week, and then everything's set all the way to Big Ten Championship week, and then we'll have plans for each bowl game that I'll put together, and first run of playoff, all that stuff we've got to have all ready to go. So it's kind of how I roll, and then when the guys are done and get a little break and end of the season, they'll get a calendar for the rest of the summer, like between then and all the way through report date. Long answer.
That's a long time from now.
No, it's a long answer, but that's my role, right? Like, I think the more organized and the more structured I am, and working with Alex Nisley on our staff, who's our director of football operations, and Jacob Schmidt, our chief of staff, like we're always trying to think about the end in mind and then work our way backwards as we prepare the team for everything that we do.
Did you miss that planning phase?
How so?
Just
Sorry?
when you were out of it, did you miss, because it seems like that's something you enjoy, is kind of that advanced planning and.
Yeah, I just think organizational structure. I mean, I was an organizational studies major at Northwestern, whatever that means. That degree's no longer available, so I can put them together A to Z, 1 to 3, whatever you want, but very organized. No, I just think you rise and fall to it. I think as the head coach, blocking and tackling, throwing and catching, leadership, motivation. I mean, recruiting. The list goes on and on and on and on. But I think for the organization to run, it's got to be really, really well organized and really well structured. So that way, when I do have to make some little turns of the dial, we already know the roadmap of how we want to go. And a little turn is just a little turn for a reason. There's a reason behind what we're doing. There's nothing left to chance.
So when you said tenderloin for the meal, is that like that's the real meal you guys are doing, or is that a tradition, or what's
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know how far it goes back. It's the same. It's basically the same meal I had as a player. So yeah, it's pretty good. I don't eat all day Friday. I enjoy a pregame meal, probably too much. Christmas shopping? I have a wonderful wife named Stacy. She does a phenomenal job. How about a couple more?
Your social media, it seems to be hitting with the fans. Do you have any input on that, or do you see it when we see it?
We've got an unbelievable team that really does a great job from a standpoint of creative. I think they're the best in the country. They've got carte blanche. They have full access. So, I have nothing to hide. I'm sorry for you guys, but we have our own team. And they're around at everything we do, wherever we go. Cameras are on. There's nothing to hide. I learned that a number of years ago. I think if you operate that way, when you end up start having success and all of a sudden this room goes from you amazing folks to 5 more rows, like I lived when we went to the Rose Bowl in the mid-'90s, it became a big distraction for the players. It really did. We had to really hone in. We didn't understand how to handle success. I want our guys to understand it. I expect and believe, and that's where we're going to go. We're going to be successful. So I want that type of environment around them, so when we do have it, they're not surprised.
But you don't give them themes or anything like that. They come up with what they want.
I'm not that creative. No, I played linebacker. Yeah, no, not an art major or a creative designer.
When did you start to see that you kind of had this ability to have this kind of traction?
Yeah. I think when he came into the program, they don't give out the Remington Award, right? And so I think there was an automatic high level of respect from his teammates when he arrived, and then the way he's worked since day one. Like this guy, he is that. You guys met him face to face with those pads. I mean, you look up O lineman in the dictionary, it's him. He looks exactly. He's got a big ass neck, and he's a big old burly offensive lineman, and he just exudes it. And his dad, obviously, great player, great coach. It's just in their blood and in their DNA as a family, and that's just kind of how he rolls. I mean, there's not a lot of nonsense with him. He's kind of right down the middle. He likes moving people against their will. I like people that like moving people against their will. So we share a very common value, and he really enjoys the hell out of it. And he's been a lot of fun to coach. And he just plays ball. There's like not a lot of stuff around it. Just what's the call? He makes all the calls, gets us lined up. Very, very dedicated to his craft.
A lot of new pieces on that offensive line, but a lot of veterans. It's hard to say if the group's on schedule or not, but how does that thing come together?
Well, we've got a midterm coming up in about 11 days, so we'll see how they handle that. To this point, though, no question that they've gelled. I think Nick Tabaka, Colin Johnson, have done a really, really good job. Matt Allen was a huge addition. We've allocated a lot of resources to the O-line from a coaching standpoint, again, by design. But Nick Tabak has done a great job leading that room, and who we brought in and exactly the guys we went to go get, that was priority number one. And as you can see, it was starts, it was production, it was guys that have been in the arena. And then, to add it with, Connor and Raheem that we thought were very talented players, very athletic. And then the young group might, I really like our young group of O-linemen. I just think the future is very bright with those guys. We've just got to develop them like in the weight room and then just coach the crap out of them. But I really like the way that group's coming together.
With how quickly you had to put the recruiting class together, early signing day and everything, probably not as much time to watch film or face-to-face time. As we can, spring ball and everything, is there been any freshmen in this class who have been, I guess, a pleasant surprise to you or on or off the field?
Yeah. I mean, I think the class as a whole, we had 15 of those guys early enroll, and I just to see their maturity and how well they did academically, I'm really proud of those guys. They've all gotten exponentially stronger. They've all learned the system. And then they did a really good job as the rest of the class, the guys that, stayed that were on scholarship through their senior year, and then our guys that walked down in their class. They've done a good job leading it. I like the group as a whole. I'm not ready to anoint anybody at a press conference from a standpoint that they're ready to rock and roll, but I would say as a class, so far things have gone really smoothly for them.
Organizational studies, what was your favorite class you took?
Yeah, Don Prentice, my great friend and God rest his soul, great professor that I had multiple times. And then he ended up being, his real job was a CEO consultant. So I worked very closely with him as a young head coach. I'm so mad at myself that I forget the name of the class. That's how big of an impact that had on me. But we did all kinds of fun stuff. It was like basically a leadership class and learning more about yourself than you were learning about business. And, I thought he really challenged me as a leader, as a young head coach. And he was really special. And then Mark Whitty did some econ classes. I think he's now still the dean of the econ department, the department chair, and was a good friend and really challenged me hard. But I wasn't Phi Beta Kappa. I'll just put it to that. I was Phi Beta B Gap. So I majored in football and proud to do that. So appreciate everybody. Have a great day. Okay, go green.
Thank you.